house, yes, shall know that there hath been a prophet among them. You know, and when these things, because you can start seeing it in the news now. It's here. You know, all they need is the right crisis to bring this. You know, they were hoping that that thing in Ferguson would have escalated to other cities. You know, and I mean it still might. You know, because if the cop gets off, that might explode. You know, and then if it spills over to a few states, you know, maybe like 4 or 5 cities, then they could just fully bring martial law in effect. You know, and that's really what they want to do. They need the right crisis, whether it be civil disobedience or civil unrest, whether it be a pocket nuke going off in a major city or a couple of major cities, you know, whether it be whatever, you know, just the right crisis so that they could declare a national emergency and send in the FEMA troops, sending, you know, the National Guard, the militarized police, the riot police, you know. And you see when them cops come out, they don't play. They start busting heads, man. You know, like back in the days, you know, the officer would, you know, tell you to stop, maybe frisk you or whatever, you know, and eventually either let you go or arrest you. Now, as soon as they roll up on you, they got guns drawn, shooting at you, you know, for whatever. Whether you stole a piece of bubble gum at the store, or you just committed grand larceny, or you robbed a bank. Them cops are trained like that, you know. So, because we're at the breaking point right now. This is going to be the breaking point, and people are fed up of these cops, you know. That's why it says in 2nd Ezra that the course of their action shall be in their own hand. Matter of fact, let me read that real quick. You know, because this is all going to be leading. You know, it's leading into because martial law is here. You know, like, you know, sometimes you hear us say martial law is coming. Martial law is already here. You know, martial law is basically, you know, when the military comes in and takes over, you know, the average American citizen, you know, doing the job of the police. You know, they become the police. This is the book of 2nd Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. You know, and that's what's coming.
We're protesting for a cause.
You know, because these race riots, that racial tension is there. You know, that's why them and I'll say this, man. I have to say it like this, man. Them Jakes out there in the South and in the Midwest and over there on the West Coast, they're a lot rougher than these tame pussycats over here, man. These Jakes over here in the East Coast, you know, they're totally blinded, totally asleep. You know, like them Jakes, you do something to them, they'll go off. I mean, they'll go off, they'll burn down their own city, but at least they're ready to explode. You know, like the short fuse. You know, but these Jakes over here in the East Coast, man, you guys are tame, man. You guys are like pussycats. You know, but the Lord's gonna put that spirit in you. And you're gonna be forced to fight, because the so-called white man is gonna push you into a corner where you're gonna either have to fight or die. You know, and we live in some serious times. You know, and you see the average Jake out there, all they're doing is playing around, having fun, talking shit. You know, watching the game or going to a game, or, you know, whatever floats their boat. You know, going to these different clubs and all that. You know. Their mindset is not set on current events, on issues that are happening in the news. You know, or why is that thing going on out there in Ferguson? What's the real reason behind that in Missouri? You know, why is it that the so-called white man, you know, these cops, you know, they always, for some reason, they always kill Jake, you know, always kill so-called blacks or Latinos. You know, they don't question things like that. But you know what? You're going to be pushed into a corner and forced to question these things, because the Most High is going to push you in that predicament. You know, when them race wars break out, it's going to be vicious out here, man. It says, for there shall be, and the women ain't going to jump up to say shit. You know, because a woman, she got a lot of mouth, but as soon as you clock her real good, or some chaos comes on out here, the first ones that start screaming and running are women. And what do they run and scream at? They're running and screaming, and they'll try to hide behind a man, because they know deep down inside that.
Don't come trying to hide around me, because I'm gonna come and sidekick you. You know?
Yeah, because these women are totally out of order, man. Like, we were just watching a video you know, in KOC the 8, you know, he was being interviewed looking crazy as hell. And he said that, as he usually does, right? And he was saying that, you know, that they said that a black woman is evil, she got to get herself together, get herself in order, something like that. Well, yeah, you're damn right. She got to get herself in order. You know, because the things that are coming, she ain't going to be able to run her mouth like she's doing right now. You know, it says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. You know, and they show you in different movies, like the movie The Road. You know, when the people roll up in that other people, was that The Road? The people roll up and then you start. No, that was no, it wasn't the Book of Eli. It was one of the movies where they show you. I think it was The Road, where they show you that the people went up into a house. And then all you see is gunshots.
Oh, Contagion.
Contagion.
Yeah, Contagion.
You know, so they're showing you that these things are gonna happen. You know, once somebody's pushed into a position where they have nothing to lose and they have nothing, they're gonna come and get what you got. And who's the ones that got everything? The so-called white man. You know, so when these things start happening, they're gonna have to do something to so-called stop it.
Yeah, I got a scripture. This is Lamentations, the 2nd chapter, and I'm gonna start from the 14th verse. I might want to go up above that. 14. It says, "Thy prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee." Those are them false prophets, those black consciousness guys, because you put them guys up as your prophets. The pastors and the ministers in the churches, the deacons and so forth in the churches. The leaders of the Roman Catholic churches and so forth, your black community, you know, and your Israelite groups that have been paid off. All right, it says, "Thy prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee, and they have not discovered thine iniquity." Because when we go out there, mainly we're getting on Jake about the wickedness that they're doing. All right, it says to turn away thy captivity. Because you're in captivity, whether you know it or not. But have seen for the false burdens and causes of banishment. 15. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. In other words, when these Edomites and these other nations, they go in your neighborhoods, like they go on bus tours in Harlem, they're looking at you and they're like happy that you motherfuckers are in that condition that you in, you know? It says, clappeth their hands at thee, they hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem. Now the word daughter of Jerusalem is talking about the whole nation of Israel. If it was talking about just the women of Israel, it would say daughters of Israel. But it says daughter of Jerusalem, because we're likened unto a comely, beautiful woman. All right? It said they wagged their heads at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, "Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth?" Because at one time, really to give you a time frame, for 40 years, when Solomon was in power, well, before that, King David was in power. He took down all them nations round about him, and they had wars here and there with them Philistines, but he had them Edomites and hardcore slavery. Matter of fact, when Solomon came on the scene, his great navy was down there in the land of Edom, off the coast. So we had